Okay, so still working on getting this cross plane established in this cross. So this, it's not a profile, but that shape in this cross plane, okay? So I've got to have this come down and meet here. So I'm looking at that shape right there. No, I'm not. I'm looking at that shape right there. I'm also looking at this negative shape up here. This one's going to have something to do with that. This thing touches right there. So this is going to touch in the same place down below. So I'm going to find that place. I'm going to do my best to get those two curves making sense with each other. I already drew this one over here. One thing I should have done is if that's the place where this is touching, I want to find the exact same place on the other side. And the way that I would do that would be to find the middle of it, which is going to be right there, and again use the old diagonal ploy, oldest one in the book. Oldest one in the book. Bring that through the center. Okay, that gives me that, which should be the same distance, right? And then if I bring that up, it's going to show me where that touches, both at the top and the bottom. So I'm going to bring this curve in a little. That tells me that curve ought to really start at that point. But it also tells me where to start that curve. Same thing. Start this curve. Again, looking at that shape. What does that curve do? This way I get the curves right on both sides. You get them mirroring each other. I don't like drawing it that way. It's a little bit of a backwards way for me, so I'm turning it upside down so I can get that curve going the right way. That needs to come more like this. And if I look at what that curve is doing here, it's just barely touching. I mean, it's want to look at what does that shape look like over here. Look at this over here, get it mirroring that. So that takes us back to the old negative shape idea. starts to be my long curve. Okay, can you see that shape in there? I hope so. Now, what I want to do is I want to decide how far out does this thing come. And I'm going to crisscross my study here a little bit. Criss. And if I draw this line across there, believe it or not, lucky me, this thing is coming out like right to the halfway mark. So if it wasn't, up here you can see that there's a little bit of space, but back here on my study, it's essentially the same line. So I'm going to keep that simple and make that be exactly halfway out. This bottom clip, right, is going to come halfway out. If it was really decidedly different, I could, make that adjustment here. But what I'm going to do is I am going to do the same thing on my box here, where I've got these diagonals from my big box from earlier. I'm going to crisscross here and on the other side. In fact, okay, got a bunch of lines going on in here. Yay! Bunch of lines. If I got too many lines, maybe it's time to start erasing some of them. But I need to be able to see what I'm doing. I found the middle of this one, but I've got another one right here that I need to find the middle of. Okay. If it starts to get hard to see them, erase the lines out that are in the way. I can just barely see where I'm going, which is that point right here, trying to find this relationship. Middle of this box to middle of that box. Mostly just trying to find this back here. Draw it, but step back from it and make sure that it's right. I got to do the same thing over here. Criss. Criss. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to find halfway from the midline to the back line. That is what I'm doing. Because that's going to be substantially the line for the clip on this, on the bottom of this. Once I find that, that's going to be a really important line. So I found it here, I found it here. Whoo, doggies! So now it is time to start where this thing touches. I'm going to project forward and back from there. Hold this thing up there, make sure it's making sense. Okay, that's from my mid-plane. From my mid-plane back here. What is it? This is my clip. Comes over to here. Comes back to there. That's a wiggly line you just drew, Brad. This comes out to here. And this comes out to here. That's the front of my clip. Can you see how I am projecting out from the center line? And now I'm using the other dimension, my other study, to figure out where this stuff goes. Okay. Actually, this comes out to here. Got a little excited. No, I didn't. Yes, I did. This is where this is on the plane that I'm drawing it. This is how far it goes forward. This comes out to this and comes up. Make sure you get it going in the right direction. This is my shape. On the plane that I've been drawing. That's this shape. Now I got to figure out this little clip that comes down underneath and goes this way. I got to make sure that it happens on both sides. You can see that this curves in a little bit. This curves in a little bit. So I might want to round that some. Round it there, round it on that side. And how far in does it come? It comes in this far. How would I find that exact thing over on that side? Well, I could use diagonals to do that. Let's say I criss this over here. Because everything that happens on this side, I want it to happen exactly the same way on that side. Criss, criss. Cross. Cross. If I find a place here, I'm going to find my midpoint. got a point here and I want to find the same point over here. Here's what I do. I got my midpoint right here, right? I got this point that I'm trying to find on the other side. I shoot it up through that midpoint. Using the diagonal. To find the same point on the other side. And then I bring that down from my vanishing point. That should give me the same distance on this side as I found on this side. Does that make sense? Use the midpoint, bring it down. I think I got a little excited. That's converging a little too fast. That's more like it. Okay. I find this clip. Use this to find it, to bring this down over on the other side. Like really trying to not do any guesswork. Or to wing it. This thing comes up here somewhere. And this thing is coming up here. All right, so I did some study of this right here, but it's kind of obscured by the front of mine. So I'm going to grab my object. And I'm going to look in there at like, check it out. That's how that thing works. It kind of comes up a little bit, then it goes over. And how much space have I got from here to here? It doesn't come all the way up there. It comes up about, that far. It doesn't even come up that far. I might even decide that this comes in a little bit farther. If that comes in a little bit farther, this one has to do the same, okay? I think it does need to come in a little farther. Like that. Okay. Anyways, whatever I do on this side, I'm going to make sure it happens over on that side by coming up, hitting that, coming down, to this side. Then, like, how far up do I go? I only go up about this far. I'm going to bring that all the way across. It comes a little ways and then it comes up and over. Now I'm going to start removing some of this scaffolding because it starts to get confusing with all those lines. But what I've got is I've got my line defining my profile, and now I've got this defining the cross axis. I got to get this cross axis all the way done, and then I'm going to show you how we project it. There's one more thing that I sort of need to do, and it has to do with this plane. I'm going to clean this up a little bit off camera, and then I'll be back.